Let me paint a picture for you. You walk into an orchard, rows and rows of trees, thick branches, green leaves everywhere, healthy roots, rich soil, plenty of water, plenty of sunlight, everything trees need to produce, they have. But when you walk up close, there's nothing on them. Not a single piece of fruit, tree after tree, beautiful, healthy, and completely barren. Now, the owner of that orchard walks up beside you. He shakes his head and says, I planted these trees, I watered them, I gave them the best soil money can buy, and they have nothing to show for it. Then he turns to you and says something that should shake you. A tree that doesn't bear fruit is wasting space. Now, before you get comfortable, that orchard is not a story about trees. That orchard is your life. That orchard is my life. That owner, that's God. And the question he's asking right now isn't whether you're planted. It's not whether you look good. It's not whether you're in the right soil. The question is, where is your fruit? Welcome to the second part of the process of dominion. The last time we established that dominion starts with identity, be before do. This week we take it a step further because once you know who you are, God expects you to produce from that identity. And if you're not producing, stick around because what I'm about to show you could change how you see every gift, every idea, every opportunity God has placed in your hands. Let's go. Hello, everyone. Welcome to Overcomers Empowerment Ministries. I'm Pastor Derek, and I want to thank you for taking the time to be with us today. Today, we're talking about produce or be cut down. Produce or be cut down. This is the second part of our process of dominion series. Here's something most people miss when they read Genesis. They read dominion mandate and jump straight to authority, have dominion. That's what excites people. That's the part everybody wants to quote, but they skip the order, and the order is everything. Let's go to our text. We're going to look at Genesis 1:26 through 28. And it says, Then God said, let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over the cattle, over all the earth, and over every creeping thing that creeps on the earth. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God, he created him. Male and female, he created them. Then God blessed them and said to them, be fruitful and multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the birds of the air, over every living thing that moves on the earth. Now watch this. God doesn't start with have dominion. He doesn't start with subdue. He doesn't start with multiply. The first operational command out of God's mouth after he created humanity was be fruitful. Why? Because God doesn't build backwards. He builds in sequence. And the sequence tells you that fruitfulness is the foundation for everything else. You cannot multiply what you haven't produced. You cannot subdue what you haven't cultivated. You cannot exercise authority over territory you've never produced in. Fruitfulness is not the reward at the end of the process. Fruitfulness is the entry point. But here's where it gets deeper. Most people hear be fruitful and think it's a nice spiritual encouragement. like a greeting card from heaven or something. Be fruitful, sweetheart. No, this is kingdom mandate embedded into a kingdom system. And if you don't understand the system, you'll never produce at the level God requires. Let me ask you something. Have you ever watched someone produce results consistently, year after year, project after project, and wondered, how do they keep doing this? Here's the answer. They're not lucky. They're not more talented. They're operating in a system. And that's exactly what God designed fruitfulness to be. See, a kingdom is not just a place. A kingdom is a system of governance. It is the influence of a king over his territory, shaping it with his will, his values, and his purpose. When God says be fruitful, he's not giving you a motivational pep talk. He's enrolling you into a production system. The renowned statistician W. Edwards Deming said something powerful. Performance is overwhelmingly determined by the system people operating in, not individual effort alone. Think about that. If your results are inconsistent, if you start things but don't finish them, if your ideas die on the vine, if your gifts lie dormant, the problem may not be you. The problem may be that you're operating outside the system. God's system of fruitfulness has an order to it. It has an order to it. It's seed, cultivation, growth, harvest, multiplication. Skip any step and the system breaks down. And most people are trying to harvest what they never planted or multiply what they never cultivated. So what does it actually mean to be fruitful? Because I tell you right now, it doesn't mean what most people think it means. Your fruit is not your title. Your fruit is not your potential. Your fruit is not what people think you can do. Your fruit is your evidence, the proof of what's really inside you. And Jesus made this painfully clear. We look at Luke chapter 6, verses 43 through 45. For a good tree does not bear bad fruit, nor does a bad tree bear good fruit. For every tree is known by its own fruit. For men do not gather figs from thorns, nor do they gather grapes from a bramble bush. A good man out of the good treasure of his heart brings forth good, and an evil man out of the evil treasures of his heart brings forth evil. For out of the abundance of the heart, his mouth speaks. Catch this. Jesus is saying that what you produce is a revelation of what's in you. Your fruit doesn't lie. Your resume might, your social media might, your reputation might, but your fruit tells the truth every single time. So when God commands you to be fruitful, he's saying, let what's in you come out. Let the world see the evidence of my kingdom operating through your life. The Hebrew word for fruitful is para. It means to bear fruit, to bring forth, to cause to grow or increase. It's active language. It's production language. It's not sit and hope something happens language. And then Jesus takes it even further in John 15:5. He says, I am the vine, you are the branches. He who abides in me and I in him bears much fruit, for without me, you can do nothing. There it is. Fruitfulness does not come from hustle. It doesn't come from ambition. It comes from abiding, from staying connected to the source. A branch that disconnects from the vine doesn't just slow down production, it dies. It becomes useless. It gets cut off and thrown away. So let me say this very plainly. If you're trying to be fruitful while disconnected from Christ, you're not producing kingdom fruit. You might be producing activity, you might even be producing noise, but you're not producing fruit that the King recognizes. All right, so we know fruitfulness is a system. We know it's evidence. We know it requires connection to the vine. But the practical question is, how do I actually bear fruit? Because knowing theology isn't enough. You need the mechanics. So God never hands you a finished product. He never gives you a fully grown tree. He gives you a seed. And what you do with that seed determines whether you'll ever stand in an orchard of your own or spend your whole life staring at a barren ground, wondering why nothing ever grew. Here's how fruitfulness actually works. First, you recognize that everything starts in seed form. Every great thing God does in your life begins small. That idea you keep pushing to the back of your mind, that's a seed. That vision that you can't shake, yep, the seed. That relationship that keeps opening doors, seed. That calling on your life that won't let you sleep, yes, it's a seed. He's not going to hand you a Fortune 500 company. He's going to hand you an idea at 2 a.m. and see what you do with it. He's not going to build a ministry for you. He's going to give you a message in a Monday morning clubhouse room and say, now produce. That was for me, y'all. The question is, what are you doing with the seeds you've already been given? Next, you want to protect the seed from weeds. In a garden, weeds don't announce themselves. They look like they belong there. They grow right alongside the good plants, but quietly and silently, they start to steal the nutrients. They choke the growth of the plant and they suffocate all of the potential. See, in your life, your weeds have names. Doubt. Doubt is a weed. It suffocates faith before faith can ever produce. Then we have fear. Fear is a weed. It makes the soil of your heart infertile, where nothing can take root. Nothing takes root in fearful ground. Disobedience also is a weed. It stunts every good thing that God is trying to grow through you. You cannot bear fruit and tolerate weeds at the same time. Something has to be pulled up. Something has to be cut back. You got to get aggressive with what's choking your potential. And the next thing we have to do is we have to take action. That means we have to introduce, we have to create, we have to invent. Here's where most kingdom people stall out. It's where they cut short. They've got the seed. They've even identified the weeds, but they won't move. See, they're waiting for the perfect conditions and the perfect time. They're waiting for a sign. They're waiting for somebody to give them permission. Listen to me. Fruitfulness is not passive. It is aggressive production. You must introduce something new into your environment. You must create solutions where problems exist. You must invent ideas that serve people and advance the kingdom. Make things happen instead of waiting for circumstances to change around you. This is why fruitfulness is a system. It requires intention, effort, cultivation. It's not magic. It's mechanics plus connection to the vine. Now I need to take you somewhere a little uncomfortable because we talked about what fruitfulness looks like, but we haven't talked about what happens when fruitfulness is absent. And this is where Jesus said something that should sober each and every one of us up. Most people read the parables of Jesus like a cute little story with some moral lesson at the end. But this one is a warning. And if you've been sitting on your gifts, your ideas, your calling without producing, this one is for you. So we look at Luke chapter 13, verse 6 through 9. And it reads, he also spoke this parable. A certain man had a fig tree planted in his vineyard, and he came seeking fruit on it and found none. Then he said to the keeper of his vineyard, look, for 3 years I have come seeking fruit on this fig tree and find none. Cut it down. Why does it use up the ground? But he answered and said to him, Sir, let it alone this year also, until I dig around it and fertilize it. And if it bears fruit, well, but if not, after that, you can cut it down. Let this hit you. The owner didn't come once. He came 3 years in a row, looking, expecting, inspecting, and every time, nothing. And what was his verdict? Not, let's give it more time. Not, maybe it needs a different environment. His verdict was cut it down. It's wasting space. Now, here's the grace of the story. The keeper of the vineyard intercedes. He comes in, he says, give it 1 more year. Let me work the soil around it. Let me fertilize it. And the owner agrees. But notice there's a deadline attached to that grace. If it bears fruit, good. If not, cut it down. See, God is patient, but God is not passive. He planted you in kingdom soil. He gave you kingdom resources. He positioned you under kingdom sunlight. And he is coming back expecting fruit, not potential, not plans, not promises, fruit. The question you have to ask yourself right now, if God inspected my life today, right now, would he find fruit? Or would he find a tree that looks good, but is producing nothing? So here's the final piece. And this is the bridge to where we're going next. So don't miss this. Fruitfulness is not the end goal. Let me say that again. Fruitfulness is not the finish line. It's the starting line. Look at Genesis 1:28 again. God says, be fruitful and multiply. He doesn't put a period after fruitful. He puts an and, which means fruitfulness that stays in your hands. Fruit that never is multiplied, it's never distributed, it's never replicated, will eventually rot. Think about that. Fruit that sits on a tree too long doesn't get better, it decays, it falls, it wastes. The same is true for our lives. If we produce something, an idea, a business, a ministry, a teaching, a solution, but we never multiply it, we never extend it, we never put it in someone else's hands, it will rot on our vine. What you produce must be multiplied to impact generations. So here's our assignment this week. I want you to ask yourself 3 questions. The first one, what seed has God given me that I haven't planted? Identify it, name it. Stop pretending it's not there. The second question is, what weeds am I tolerating that are choking my production? Is it doubt? Is it fear, distraction, disobedience? Call them by name and snatch them up. And the third question, what fruit am I sitting on that needs to be multiplied? What have you already produced that's just sitting there? A book, unfinished, a business, unstarted, a teaching, undelivered, a gift, unemployed. It's time to move. Because next time, we're going deeper. We're going to talk about multiplication. And I'm not talking about numbers. I'm talking about multiplying your influence, your impact, your legacy. We're going to discover why multiplication isn't optional in the kingdom. It's a mandate. And why God's design for growth was never meant to stop with you. You got the seed, you got the soil, you got the source. Now be fruitful. But don't stop there. Get ready to multiply. Listen, I want to thank you for taking the time to stop by here and be with us. I pray that this teaching has been a blessing to you. There's more to come, so stay tuned. We'll catch you next week.